If you've noticed the dating landscape has gone eerily quiet, you're not imagining things. Walk through any major city today, and you'll witness something unprecedented. Thousands of single women in their prime, and thousands of capable men, yet almost no one is approaching. The mainstream narrative will tell you men are afraid, lazy, or intimidated by strong women. But that's not the truth. The truth is far more calculated. Men haven't stopped approaching because they lack courage. They've stopped because they ran the numbers, and the math revealed something devastating. The approach itself has become the highest risk, lowest reward transaction in modern social dynamics. This is why men stopped approaching women, and why that silence is actually the most rational decision they've ever made. Let's start with the most visceral fear. The smartphone has turned every public interaction into a potential career-ending event. A man approaches a woman at a coffee shop. She's not interested. Perfectly fine. But instead of a simple, "No thank you," she pulls out her phone, films him, adds a caption like, "This creep wouldn't leave me alone," and uploads it to TikTok. Within hours, his face is on thousands of screens. Someone recognizes him. It gets sent to his workplace. HR calls him in. No context, no defense, just consequences. This isn't theoretical. We've watched this exact scenario destroy men's livelihoods, not because they were aggressive, but because they existed in the wrong moment at the wrong time. The withdrawal calculation here is simple. One approach equals potential lifetime reputational damage. The risk asymmetry is absolute. Here's what makes modern approaching terrifying. Your intent is irrelevant. Only her perception counts, and that perception can be weaponized retroactively. You smile? Creepy. You don't smile? Threatening. You give a compliment? Objectification. You talk about shared interests? Manipulation. The rules aren't unclear. They're deliberately unfalsifiable. A man can do everything right by yesterday's standards and still be labeled predatory by today's shifting definitions. And here's the kicker. These accusations don't require proof. The mere allegation is enough to trigger social, professional, and legal consequences. Men with pattern recognition see this clearly. It's not a game you can win. It's a game where the rules change after you've already moved. Let's confront the biological reality no one wants to admit. Most men have become systematically invisible to most women. Dating app data confirmed what evolutionary psychology predicted. Women rate 80% of men as below average in attractiveness. This isn't cruelty. It's hypergamy operating in an environment of unlimited choice. If you're not in the top 20% of looks, status, or resources, your approach isn't even registered as a legitimate romantic offer. Your background noise, an interruption, an inconvenience. This creates a devastating feedback loop. Men approach to women reject coldly because they're holding out for the top tier. 2. Men internalize failure. 2. Confidence erodes. 2. Next approach is weaker. 2. Pattern repeats. The withdrawal decision. Why endure systematic rejection when the game is statistically rigged against your genetic starting point? Here's where evolutionary biology collides with social media delusion. A generation of women have been told they deserve men who exist in statistically impossible proportions. She's 35, works part-time, has 2 kids from different fathers, and is drowning in credit card debt. But her non-negotiables include a man who's over 6 feet tall, earns 6 figures, has a six-pack, owns property, and wants to step up and provide for her children who aren't his. This isn't about shaming standards. It's about mathematical impossibility. If only 0.6% of men meet these criteria, and those men have infinite options, why would they choose her? But here's what breaks the approach incentive. She doesn't adjust her standards. She blames men for not meeting them. Every approach from a regular man is treated as an insult. She's not just rejecting him, she's offended he thought he had a chance. The withdrawal conclusion. Why volunteer to be insulted for not being a statistical unicorn? The smartphone didn't just change dating. It destroyed the value proposition of the approach itself. Why would a woman give her attention to one uncertain man in front of her when she has 500 simps in her DMs providing instant validation, free meals via Venmo, and ego boosts on demand? She's not being rude. She's psychologically conditioned to expect infinite options. Your approach isn't special. It's interrupting her scroll through digital suitors who require zero reciprocation. The math is simple. In-person approach requires her presence, attention, and risk. Digital validation requires nothing and offers everything. You can't compete with a dopamine slot machine that never runs out of coins. Let's remove emotion and run this like a business decision. The risks of approaching. Career destruction if filmed and misrepresented. Legal consequences if she decides your compliment was harassment. Social exile if she brands you a creep to her network. Emotional damage. Systematic rejection erodes mental health. The potential reward. Maybe she says yes to coffee. Maybe that coffee leads to a relationship. Maybe that relationship doesn't implode in modern dating chaos. No rational investor would take this deal. The downside is unlimited. The upside is speculative at best. This is why high-value men withdrew first. They didn't lack courage. They had better opportunities for their time, resources, and peace. Even if you avoid the digital execution, navigate the perception minefield, and accept the statistical impossibility, there's one thing that breaks even the strongest men: the cumulative psychological toll of systematic rejection. Approach 50 women. Get rejected 49 times. The one who says yes ghosts you after 2 dates because she found someone better on Hinge. You're not weak for stopping. You're not a coward. You're a man who realized that self-preservation is more valuable than external validation. Now here's where sovereign male dynamics diverges from every other channel dissecting this collapse. We don't stop at diagnosis. We don't leave you angry at the system. We give you the blueprint to build something better than the game you walked away from. Male withdrawal isn't the end. It's the beginning of resource reallocation toward the 5 pillars of sovereign masculinity. Every hour you spent approaching, texting, dating, and recovering from rejection was an hour stolen from building your empire. Calculate this. If you spent 10 hours per week on dating apps, failed approaches, and post-rejection recovery, that's 520 hours per year, the equivalent of 13 full work weeks. What could you build with 13 extra weeks? A side business that generates passive income, a body that commands respect, a skill that makes you irreplaceable. Sovereign strategy. Redirect approach energy into outcome-guaranteed investments. Your time is finite. Spend it where the ROI is measurable. The modern dating market operates on a simple principle. Men pay, women select. Average cost of dating to prove yourself, $200 to $500 per month. Over 10 years, $24,000 to $60,000, and that's before the relationship even starts. Sovereign males see this clearly. That money isn't romance. It's a transaction with unclear terms and no guaranteed outcome. The reallocation strategy. Invest that $300 per month into index funds, $180,000 in 20 years. Build an emergency fund that makes you untouchable. Create financial sovereignty that makes you immune to manipulation. You're not cheap.
You're strategically allocating capital toward guaranteed returns.
Here's the paradox. The moment you stop seeking female validation and start building your body for your own capability, you become infinitely more attractive. But by then, you won't care. Physical mastery isn't about aesthetics. It's about embodied self-respect. When you can deadlift twice your body weight, run 5 miles without stopping, and move through the world with physical confidence, rejection loses its sting. Why? Because your value is no longer externally determined. It's internally generated. Sovereign males don't build bodies to attract. They build bodies to respect the man in the mirror. The average man's mind is colonized by cultural programming that tells him, your worth equals your ability to attract women. Sovereign males deprogram this lie through philosophy, strategy, and historical perspective. Read Marcus Aurelius. He'll teach you that external validation is slavery. Study evolutionary biology. You'll understand that modern dating dynamics aren't personal, they're systemic. Learn economics. You'll see relationships as resource exchanges and protect yourself accordingly. Intellectual sovereignty means you think for yourself, see the patterns others miss, and make decisions based on logic, not cultural scripts. The final pillar is the most powerful. What will exist because you existed? Not a relationship that statistically has a 50% failure rate. Not children raised in a broken home because you chose the wrong partner. Your legacy. A business that employs others. Art, writing, or knowledge that teaches future generations. Wealth that provides freedom for those you mentor. Wisdom that guides men who come after you. Sovereign males don't chase approval. They build monuments to their discipline. If you're watching this and feeling the weight of every rejection, every ghosting, every moment you felt invisible, I want you to hear this clearly. Your withdrawal isn't weakness, it's wisdom. You're not broken because you stopped playing a rigged game. You're waking up. You don't need to approach to prove your value. You don't need to chase to confirm you're worthy. You don't need external approval to build a life of meaning. There's a quiet revolution happening right now. Millions of men are walking away from the pursuit, not in bitterness, but in strategic self-respect. They're choosing peace over performance. They're choosing sovereignty over validation. They're choosing themselves, not because women aren't worth it, but because they finally realize they are. The woman who's supposed to be in your life will recognize the empire you're building. She'll approach your sovereignty, not because you chased, but because you became undeniable. And if she never comes, you'll still have built a kingdom. That's not loneliness, that's liberation. So to every man who stopped approaching, you're not giving up, you're reallocating. You're not retreating, you're strategizing. You're not broken, you're becoming sovereign. Your peace is your power. Guard it. Build on it. Let it be the foundation of everything you create. What was the exact moment you realized your peace was worth more than the chase? Was it after the 50th rejection? The false accusation? The moment you saw your time being devoured? Share your story below. Not for me, for the brother scrolling through these comments at 2 a.m., wondering if he's the only one who feels this way. Your experience is his validation. Your sovereignty is his permission. If this perspective brought you clarity, consider subscribing. Not because we need numbers, but because you deserve a community that understands the logic of your peace. This is Sovereign Male Dynamics, where withdrawal becomes strategy, where silence becomes strength, where you finally realize you were never the problem. You were always the solution.